Sometimes life does not speak through extraordinary events. Sometimes it chooses an ordinary moment that quietly changes everything. Your soulmate may have recently experienced one of those moments. It happened on a day they expected to be completely ordinary. There was no reason to believe anything meaningful was about to unfold. They woke up, followed their routine, completed familiar responsibilities, and moved through the day exactly as they had countless times before. Nothing seemed different, yet life has a remarkable way of hiding its greatest lessons inside moments that appear completely insignificant. Perhaps it happened while they were waiting in line. Perhaps it happened during a short conversation with someone they had never met before. Or maybe it was nothing more than watching two strangers share a genuine act of kindness without expecting anything in return. The details themselves are not what matter most. What mattered was the feeling that unexpectedly stayed with them long after the moment had passed. At first, they tried to ignore it. After all, people witness ordinary moments every single day. Why should this one feel different? But something about what they had seen continued returning to their thoughts. Not because it was dramatic, because it was genuine. For reasons they could not explain, that simple experience caused them to pause. It reminded them that life is not always changed by grand achievements. Sometimes a single moment of honesty carries more power than years of carefully planned success. That realization quietly unsettled them. They began wondering how often they had overlooked the small moments that truly mattered. How many conversations had they rushed through? How many opportunities to express appreciation had they postponed? How many meaningful connections had they quietly assumed would always be there tomorrow? These questions did not arrive to create regret. They arrived to create awareness. Perhaps your soulmate is beginning to recognize that life rarely asks us to become extraordinary. More often, it simply asks us to become present, to notice, to appreciate, to respond with kindness while the opportunity still exists. As they reflected on this unexpected lesson, another understanding slowly began taking shape. They realized that some of the people who influenced them most deeply never did. So through dramatic actions, instead they changed them through consistency, through quiet encouragement, through patience, through moments that seemed ordinary at the time, but became unforgettable years later. This realization has encouraged your soulmate to examine their own life differently. They are becoming less interested in rushing toward the next destination, more interested in appreciating where they already are. They are learning that the heart remembers sincerity far longer than it remembers perfection. Perhaps this is why that seemingly insignificant encounter continues living in their thoughts. It reminded them that every ordinary day carries the possibility of revealing an extraordinary truth. And perhaps that quiet realization is preparing them for a completely different way of living than they ever imagined. As the days continued, your soulmate may have noticed that the memory of that simple encounter refused to fade. It was never about the strangers themselves. It was never about the exact words they heard or the place where it happened. It was about the feeling that quietly remained long after everything else had returned to normal. For the first time in a long while, they stopped rushing through their days. Instead of constantly thinking about tomorrow, they began paying closer attention to the present. They noticed the morning sunlight entering the room. They appreciated conversations that once felt ordinary. They found themselves smiling at moments they would have ignored only a few weeks earlier. These changes seemed small, yet they were changing the way your soulmate experienced life. They were beginning to understand that happiness is rarely hidden inside extraordinary events. More often it grows through small moments that are fully appreciated. This realization encouraged them to ask another important question. If life can change because of one small moment, how many meaningful moments have I already overlooked? The answer was not easy. They remembered times when someone had offered kindness, but they were too distracted to notice. They remembered opportunities to express gratitude that they quietly postponed. They remembered moments when they chose speed over presence, believing there would always be another chance. Now they understand that life does not always promise another opportunity. Sometimes the greatest gift we receive is the moment directly in front of us. That awareness has changed the way they interact with the people around them. They listen more carefully. They speak with greater sincerity. They are becoming more patient, not only with others, but also with themselves. Instead of expecting perfection, they have begun valuing authenticity. They no longer feel the need to have every answer before moving forward. Instead, they trust that each day will reveal the next lesson when the time is right. Perhaps this is why their heart feels lighter, not because every uncertainty has disappeared, but because they are no longer carrying the pressure of trying to control every outcome. They are learning to live with openness instead of constant expectation. As this transformation continues, they begin recognizing something even more meaningful. Every person who enters our life leaves behind something valuable. Some people teach us confidence, some teach us patience, others teach us resilience, and a few rare connections teach us how deeply the heart is capable of feeling when it is no longer afraid. Those lessons never truly disappear. They quietly become part of who we are. Your soulmate may now realize that growth is not measured by how quickly someone forgets the past. It is measured by how wisely they carry the lessons the past has given them. This understanding brings an unexpected sense of freedom. They no longer feel the need to judge every chapter of their life as either a success or a failure. Instead, they see each chapter as part of a much larger journey. Every challenge strengthened them. Every disappointment gave them perspective. Every meaningful connection expanded their understanding of love, trust, and compassion. Perhaps this is the reason that one ordinary encounter felt so significant. It did not change their future in a single day. It changed the way they looked at every day that followed. Now they notice beauty where they once saw routine. They recognize opportunities where they once saw obstacles. They appreciate sincerity more than appearances. And they understand that the most meaningful transformations often happen so quietly that no one else realizes they are taking place. That is the power of true inner growth. It asks for no applause. It seeks no recognition. It simply changes the way a person walks through the world. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that life has been guiding them through small moments all along. The signs were never loud. The lessons were never forced. They appeared gently, one experience at a time, patiently waiting for the day they would finally be noticed. And now that day has arrived. With every quiet realization, they are becoming someone who values presence over perfection, gratitude over comparison, and authenticity over fear. Perhaps this has been the hidden purpose behind the journey from the very beginning. Not to become someone different, but to become more fully themselves. And sometimes,